Today we're out here in the tomato test garden and we're going to be talking about supporting tomatoes because tomatoes is one of those plants that has to have supports. We're going to be talking about different techniques for you to use in supporting those tomatoes, and hang around to the end because I'm going to show you my favorite method. Now this is about the stage of the plant where I start thinking about some type of external support system. Up to this stage right here, I used soil, and I'll mound up a couple of 3 times as the plant is growing. That also supports that stem real well. Now here in the springtime, we can get some major storms come through with a lot of wind. So that's the reason I like to look at putting some type of external support at this stage right here, because the last thing we want is a big windstorm to come through here and break our tomatoes off. Tomato cages is a good way to support your plants if you're growing just a few tomato plants. They come in several different sizes, several different shapes. These that you see right here are some tomato cages we used to sell, actually, and they're Amish made and they're great. UPS didn't like us shipping them, so we had to kind of discontinue them. But they're great and they're square. Now also, you've seen the round ones you can buy at the big box stores. It's maybe not as well made as these are, but they'll work also. And a lot of people make those handmade tomato cages out of fence wire where you just go around and make you a circle. Any of those work fine. Now this right here is a 40-inch tomato cage, and this works pretty good with those determinate type varieties, because my determinate tomatoes normally don't get over about this high. So a 40-inch cage is wonderful for those. Now on those indeterminate type of tomatoes, you want to go with a more substantial cage here, because they can grow a lot bigger. These indeterminates can get up 6 foot pretty easy. Now this is a 60-inch cage, and it works pretty good as far as the cage goes for those indeterminate type tomatoes. Now if you're growing a good many tomatoes like old Hoss here does, you're probably going to be looking at a different type of support system. I like to use the one we call the Florida weave, and with that system you're going to need some type of stakes to tie your string to from plant to another plant. Now there's several different types of stakes you can use also. You can use the wooden stakes and they work fine. I have found that metal fence post works good for me. Over a period of years I've bought up these metal fence posts, and they are expensive, but the thing about them is they last for years and years and years, and they're really stout once you put them into the ground. So what I like to do is I like to use the metal fence posts, and I put them between every 2 plants. Now I got my tomatoes on drip tape, so I have to dig down to find out where that tape is, and I like to stay about 2 inches off that tape. Last thing I want to do is be repairing drip tape. Then I take my post hole driver and I drive my stakes in. So I have these stakes about 2 foot apart. The next thing I do is get ready for that Florida weave. To use the Florida weave, after you get your stakes up, you're going to need a string or a twine to actually put that Florida weave into. Now the two we sell is a nylon type here, and there's a bunch of it in this box right here. You hook it onto your belt, simply pull it out, it stays in the box, and you pull it out the box right there. Now this really depends on how much you have to do. If you're a market farmer or you doing a lot, this right here is probably the best way for you to go. Now if you're just doing a few plants, we sell this cotton string right here, and this is butcher's twine. It's 100% cotton. Now this is the one I like, but it doesn't come in the box. It's a little more pricey, but it's cotton and it biodegrades. This one will not biodegrade. So after the season, you're gonna have to make sure you get all this up. If you miss some of this after the season right here, it'll biodegrade in your soil. My preferred method is to use the metal fence post and the cotton twine. It really doesn't tear into my skin, my fingers very well, and I wrap it around there so you don't get any burn. And as I said before, it decomposes. I just really like using the stuff. Now I put my first row of string down through there, and generally about every 10 days I have to come back and put another one, come up a few inches, put another one. I'll end up with 4 or 5 different strings across there. Now this first one can get a little rough on your back, so you kind of have to do a few and take you a little break and finish up. This is the way I do it. When you're coming through there, you don't want to wrap it around the plant because you don't want to injure that stem in any way. Just simply cross it, and that gives plenty of support there. In a few days, when that plant grows more, come back and do the same thing right up here. I can barely wait for that tomato sandwich. A little Duke's mayonnaise, white bread, a little salt and pepper. It's going to be good.